So today we'll continue our journey on the precious human rebirth, um, and building a bit on what we contemplated last week. So keeps building on each other. But first, we just bring our attention to this session, finding a comfortable position. And it doesn't matter if we're sitting on a cushion or sitting in the chair or we're lying down on the ground or in bed. Just finding that position where we can be comfortable for 30 minutes and relax the body, not have too much tension or stress. Just check quickly, or if we're holding any tension. So just kind of scanning our head, our skull, our facial muscles, our neck, the shoulders and the arms. A lot of people tend to have a lot of stress and build up held in the shoulders, carrying the weight of the world. Let's check our arms, the forearm, the wrist, the fingers. The torso, the back. A lot of stress can be put on the back through our day, and we can hold it there so we can release that. The legs, the knees, the ankles, and particularly the feet, those little things that support us all day long when we're walking around. We're just standing and waiting. Further help relax our body and calm our mind. We can draw our attention to our breath. Do this. Our only job is to observe it, to watch it. The body will breathe on its own. So There's the inhale and the exhale. Watch carefully. You can see that it's completely continuous. So we inhale, and there's a pause or a transition, and then there's the exhale. It's a continuous process. To find our motivation for coming to this session, to contemplate the Lam, to meditate together. And we can think that the most altruistic motivation that we can have is the bodhicitta motivation. So practicing and contemplating and meditating on auspicious things, on fruitful things, such as the Dharma, in order to develop our minds, to become better people, to eventually become enlightened Buddhas. And we do that all for the purpose so that in that enlightened state that we achieve, that we can benefit others, benefit all the suffering that all sentient beings are experiencing. Because it's only with that enlightened mind do we have the ability to know what others actually need in that moment and to help guide them to enlightenment themselves. So that is our motivation. It's a big motivation, but we're on the path. And bit by bit, step by step, we go forward. So if we recall, last week we were contemplating the precious human rebirth, right? And how precious this human rebirth is to develop our minds to achieve enlightenment. And we talked about how we have our delusions, we have our negative karma, we can purify that negative karma, we can make progress so that bit by bit we improve and we get closer to enlightenment so we can be guided by the bodhicitta, right? So we were discussing how useful this human existence is and this opportunity that we have. And since there's an opportunity and it's useful, we don't want to waste it. And now we want to look at it a bit further at what we can do even more. So in this human existence, we need to be very skillful, right? We need to practice with consciousness. And if we practice with consciousness, there's certain practices that will actually result or help us be reborn in a pure realm or a pure land. We we uh, we can use Sukhavati as a pure land example for today, but there's many others, Shambhala, etc. And so in these pure lands, it's really easy to practice the Dharma because all the unfavorable conditions are removed and favorable conditions exist. So there's no sickness, there's no suffering, there's no old age, there's no hot, there's no cold. There's no hate. And these are all things that interfere with our practice. They distract us. We say, oh no, we can't practice now. So all those in the Pure Lands, those things are excluded. And on the other hand, we have all the favorable conditions that are in the Pure Lands. So we can meet Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, deities. We can receive teachings from them. And since we can meet them, we can receive teachings from them, and our mind is rather unobstructed from all the unfavorable aspects. Then we have this clear realization of wisdom very quickly. We have faith in the Dharma quickly. So we have all the internal requirements for the Dharma. So we can think of an example, right? So we can imagine that we want to travel from LA to New York, and we can hitchhike, of course, right? So if we do this, it's really difficult, it's uncertain, and eventually maybe we get to New York, but the journey's really, really long. And maybe it's just easier if we work hard for a few weeks or months and we earn some money and then we fly to New York. So it's the same in the when we're doing practice in the Pure Lands. It's very easy. But first we have to learn about the fine qualities of these places. We have to study, we have to learn about the teachings. And then we have to have this desire. We have to want to be uh, reborn in the pure realm. It's like when someone tells us they went on vacation, they went to the most beautiful beach they've ever seen. And they tell us the story. And as the story goes on, we too, we get this desire. Oh, yeah, I want to go there. I want to experience this. So this is the desire that we want to develop, this desire to be reborn in a pure land. So we can do just the same with the pure land. We can read a book about it. We can hear teachings about it to help cultivate this desire. And when we have the desire, then we start to establish a connection with the Lord of the Pure Land. And if we use Sukhavati as the example, then we need to make a connection, a link with Amitabha Buddha. So how do we do that? Well, when we do our practice every day or at the end of the day, we can dedicate all the virtue of whatever positive activities we've accomplished. We can dedicate it to Amitabha Buddha. We can dedicate for our future rebirth in the pure realm. So it's in this life, in this human existence, that we have this opportunity, this fortunate rebirth to do these practices for the next rebirth in the pure land. So it's with this existence that we have the actual means to attain liberation, to be free of all the suffering and dissatisfaction of samsara. And we know that we don't spend every minute of the day putting all of our energy and efforts into trying to do this, right? This is our challenge. But we do know through examples that it's possible. And these are they're inspiring examples. We have Milarepa, we have Tsongkhapa. There's so many examples. And they were able to take those practices, put them into practice, and in a matter of a few years, achieve enlightenment in this lifetime. And those are just a few examples. And there have been actually countless human examples that have attained liberation and enlightenment in one lifetime. And our situation is no different. We have those opportunities as well. In fact, maybe we have better opportunity because we have good material circumstances. We have plentiful food. We're strong. So we have lots of support to practice. But sometimes we just need a little motivation, right? So if we just sit for a few minutes every day and we contemplate the defects of this samsaric existence. It's not to get depressed. It's just to see it for how it is. And if we don't think about it from the perspective of ourselves, but we think about others. So we can use our own existence in samsara as an example, with all the problems and the pains and the difficulties and mental challenges that we have. And it's not about us. Think about all the billions, actually countless sentient beings in this world that have exactly the same challenges that you do. So with that thought in mind, we can further contemplate and we can train. We can train so that we can benefit those sentient beings. And it can be simple, right? We recite the mantra. Just reciting Om Mani Padme Hum has an incredible benefit. It's essentially the mantra of compassion. And that's when we take this human existence, and for that 1 minute or 5 minutes of reciting the mantra, we're using every moment of time in this human body to create benefit. And it's interesting because in this country we have, these very expensive machines and factories, and they're producing all these products, and they're running 24 hours a day, right? And we think if they're unproductive, if they're not working for 5 minutes, that's not good. But in actuality, in the long-term view, in the multi-life view, even if this machine's if they're not working at all, um, it doesn't matter, because they're only producing lifeless objects, and the production of those lifeless objects, it doesn't help future rebirth at all. So it's not producing anything of value for the future. So it's essentially a great waste that we're not using our opportune, fortunate existence here right now to accomplish and benefit all sentient beings. And whether we practice Dharma or not, um, this existence is going to end. So it's this present opportunity that we have that's incredibly precious, right? So we shouldn't waste it. So we can contemplate right now that we should develop this attitude of striving to make the best possible use of this existence. Having made these contemplations, we can dedicate this merit of this meditation, uh, and we can dedicate it. We can seal it with emptiness, right? So, as Lama Zopa Rinpoche would say, he would say, due to all the past, the present, and future merits collected by me, and all the merits of the 3 times collected by numberless Buddhas and numberless sentient beings, which are completely empty of existing from their own side. May I, who am completely empty of existing from my own side, achieve the state of full enlightenment, which is also completely empty of existing from its own side, and lead all sentient beings who are completely empty of existing from their own side to that state, which is completely empty of existing from its own side, by myself alone, who is completely empty of existing from my own side. Thank you, everyone.